Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in Washington to meet US President Donald Trump, which will be his first face-to-face with a European leader after the announcement of tariffs.
Trump officials could face contempt of court for defying an order to turn around deportation flights to El Salvador. Glaciers in Sweden and Norway are melting at an increased rate as the planet continues to get warmer.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in Washington for a scheduled meeting with the US President Donald Trump on Thursday. She'll be the first European leader to meet the US President face-to-face since he announced and then suspended 20% tariffs on European exports. Meloni is traveling in her role as Italy's leader, but she has been in close contact with the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen ahead of the trip. The visit is found to be timely since the US President may also be feeling increased domestic pressure to settle any tariffs, as many voters say they returned Trump to the White House with the specific goal of improving the economy.
Giorgia Meloni's meeting with US President Donald Trump in Washington on Thursday comes at a crucial time. With Trump threatening a trade war against the EU, her visit could be key to help both Italy and Europe avoid an escalation in tensions. Trump's decision to pause some of the planned measures has softened the tone, but can Meloni actually bring home a meaningful result?
La possibilità di ottenere delle concessioni è limitata e questo sarà un problema perché naturalmente gli europei chiederanno conto alla Meloni per questa visita. I dossier su cui maggiormente si concentrerà l'attenzione saranno quelli economici, industriali, in particolare quello della difesa. La Meloni andrà a offrire un aumento della spesa per la difesa. Questa spesa naturalmente andrà a favore anche delle industrie americane. Qui c'è un punto di tensione perché questo entra in conflitto con il progetto Rearm Europe, che dovrebbe essere invece a favore dell'industria della difesa europea.
Meloni also supports the EU's proposed zero-for-zero tariff deal on industrial goods with the US.
But the feeling here in Rome is that beyond what Meloni may achieve from this meeting, her aim is to send a message to her coalition partners and strengthen her leadership, striking a balance between the positions of the two deputy prime ministers. On the one hand, Matteo Salvini, who's more focused on safeguarding Italian interests, and on the other, Antonio Tajani, with his pro-European stance.
Un vero leader non è qualcuno che va a improvvisa, è qualcuno che sente tutti i propri partner, usa qualsiasi strumento per consolidare lo scambio di opinioni e il valore di quello che i partner possono portare. Gli interessi italiani e gli interessi europei in generale collimano. Ovviamente l'Europa è leggermente più complessa, ma Meloni va negli Stati Uniti come primo ministro italiano per ragionare in un bilaterale, il primo bilaterale ufficiale con il presidente eletto degli Stati Uniti. Poi ovviamente l'Europa sta molto confidando in Giorgia Meloni.
Giorgia Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
A US federal judge has said he's found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court for violating his order to turn around planes carrying deportees to El Salvador. Judge Boasberg said he could initiate legal proceedings if officials do not return to US custody those who were sent to the Central American country in breach of his order. The Trump administration has said it will appeal the ruling. Meanwhile, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador on Wednesday to advocate for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a man deported in March despite a court order blocking his removal.
I'm asking President Bukele, under his authority as president of El Salvador, to do the right thing and allow Mr. Abrego Garcia to walk out of a prison.
Van Hollen claims he was told the Salvadoran government would not return Abrego Garcia and denied his request to visit him in detention. In his first major speech since leaving office, former US President Joe Biden criticized the Trump administration for, he said, causing so much damage and destruction.
Fewer than 100 days, this new administration has done so much damage and so much destruction. It's kind of breathtaking it could happen that soon.
Biden spoke at a disability rights event in Chicago on Tuesday evening, during which he also accused the Republican president of taking a hatchet to Social Security. As part of a push to reduce federal spending, Trump's government has targeted the Social Security Administration, with the Department of Government Efficiency planning to cut 7,000 jobs. Thousands of staff members have already left the agency, leaving benefit claimants to deal with website crashes and long call wait times. The Trump administration responded to Biden's comments by alleging that he was lying to Americans.
Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Cambodia on Thursday for the final stop on his Southeast Asian tour. The two-day visit follows earlier stops in Vietnam and Malaysia. Xi aims to strengthen Beijing's already close ties with Phnom Penh, which Cambodia's PM has described as an indispensable friend. Several cooperation deals are expected to be signed. Throughout the tour, Xi has stressed boosting trade and investment amid global uncertainty and US trade tensions. He has positioned China as a stable partner, calling for opposition to protectionism, referencing US tariffs under President Trump. Xi also told Malaysia's leader on Wednesday that China will be a collaborative partner and stand with its Southeast Asian neighbors in the wake of global economic shocks. Those tariffs worry export-reliant economies across the region.
Iran has confirmed that the next round of nuclear talks with the United States this weekend will be held in Rome. The announcement comes after earlier confusion over the location of the negotiations. Officials initially identified Rome as hosting the negotiations, only for Iran to insist early on Tuesday that they would return to Oman. An Iranian state TV announcement said Oman will again mediate the talks on Saturday in Rome. Meanwhile, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian formally approved the resignation of one of his vice presidents, Mohammad Javad Zarif, who served as Tehran's key negotiator in its 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. The 2015 deal saw Iran agree to limit its nuclear activities in return for international sanctions relief. But since U.S. President Donald Trump's withdrawal of the deal in 2018, Iran has abandoned all limits on its nuclear program.
Commemorations were held in several locations across Budapest to mark Memorial Day for Holocaust victims in Hungary. Speaking at a synagogue, Andrea Agadi-Mirai, the executive director of the Militi Let Foundation, told attendees it was a day to remember the 500,000 people who lost their lives to the evils of anti-Semitism. The first ghetto was created in Hungary 81 years ago on the 16th of April 1944. Soon after, the deportation of Hungarian Jewish people began. During the commemorations, the names of victims were played out from loudspeakers, paying tribute to their memories. Following this, the national chief rabbi, Robert Froelich, gave the Jewish prayer of Kaddish. Dr. Andor Gross, who is the president of Masihi, the largest federation of Jewish communities in Hungary, said that remembering the horrors of the Holocaust was everyone's responsibility, not just the Jewish community. Speaking at Budapest's Holocaust Museum, he concluded that whilst Jewish ghettos and the deportation of Jews were facilitated by the state, these actions received broad popular support at the time. In Hungary, hundreds of thousands of innocent citizens were deported to death camps. By July 1944, the majority of Jewish people from the Hungarian countryside had been exterminated.
Polish authorities say they have retrieved 2 bodies from the Bug River on the border with Belarus. They are believed to belong to 2 men who had attempted to cross the border into Poland illegally. The Polish border guard said there has been an upward trend of attempted border crossings, with 300 attempts to cross the Polish-Belarusian border in the Lublin province this year. The Polish Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs accused Belarus of having pushed the 2 people whose bodies were found into the river, claiming it to be a tactic of provocation used by Belarus. Warsaw says Belarus lures asylum seekers to the Polish border in collaboration with Russian President Vladimir Putin to destabilize Poland. In March, Poland temporarily suspended the right of migrants arriving from Belarus to apply for asylum. Human rights groups have criticized the move, saying it would worsen an already existing humanitarian crisis at the Polish-Belarusian border.
Glaciers in Sweden and Norway have been melting at an accelerated rate as the planet continues to get warmer as a result of climate change. In 2024, the warmest year on record in Europe, they melted by an average of 1.8 metres. Glaciology experts warn the disappearance of glaciers could have significant ecological consequences in the long term.
Vi måste vara rädda om de här små isarna som är otroligt viktiga för oss människor. Det är energi, jordbruk, vattentillgång, allting. Och hela ekologin i fjällen och Alperna är beroende av det här vattnet som kommer och går.
This year, heavy snowfall has helped the glaciers recover slightly, but Professor Nina Kirchner said this has just created a false sense of security.
Det viktigaste är att man tar den här snörika vintern inte som ett tecken på att det inte är någon fara. Jag vet att i längden kommer det inte spela någon roll och i längden kommer glaciärerna krympa i Sverige.
The IPCC has warned that if we continue as we are, 4 out of 5 glaciers in Sweden will have shrunk significantly or completely melted by the year 2100.